Hey, what's going on everybody? This is John J. Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with the Season 2 off-season recap as we get ourselves ready to go for our third season of FBS football. You know, it was an up and down year, man. We finished 3-9, and at one hand, we finished about what we expected to do. We won 3 games at the end of the day, which is where I expected us to be. Was hoping for 3 to 4 wins, and we got that, but at the same time felt disheartening because I felt like if our offense, was just at a higher level, we will have definitely been in a bowl game here in our second season. But it is what it is. We get ready for our second year, and it's a big year for our old ball coach. You can see our coach is starting to feel it a little bit on the hot seat. Thankfully, the alma mater is a little bit more patient than some of these other schools, but here we are in his first couple of seasons, only 4-20, 420 blazing. Not nice for the football record though. 0-4 versus the rivals, 0-3 versus top 25 squads. We got some work that still needs to be done across the board, so hey, I got a good off-season episode for you guys here today. So make sure you smash that like button for me, as well as hit subscribe if you have to be new. Let's go ahead now and remember when we decided to go ahead and redshirt some guys. Well, their end of season bonuses came in. We're going to go ahead and check out, how those end of season bonuses turned out. First, we have Jack Rodford. Thanks to him, he's now up to a 46 overall after getting some additional development in terms of, just getting some extra reps. As a redshirt guy, doesn't have to worry about playing, during the course of this season. But he was honestly the only redshirt guy that we had on the offensive side of the ball, because on defense was where most of our redshirts were. Greg Jenkins, for example, he moves up to a 62 overall with the attribute boost. Putting in some work in the weight room, he gets himself to a 62. And keep in mind, this is also before we even get into the off-season training results, so that's really nice to see. Going forward, at middle linebacker, we had 2 guys that did end up being redshirt this season. We had Anthony and Luke Hall, and thanks to their hard work, they're both over 50 overall. Anthony is a 55, and Luke Hall being a 51. Nate Hunt is probably the biggest story, though. He jumps up to a 73. You want to talk about a guy that put in a ton of hard work? This is that guy right here, and you certainly love to see that. I can't wait to see what this kid can do on the field, and he's supposed to get even better over the off season. I'm excited to have him on the field. Not that Seth Gray wasn't bad. He can be a great rotational piece too, but Nate Hunt can do some things as well. I can't wait to see what he can do, going forward. As for how our guys performed on the field, it was a little bit of a mixed bag this year. Miami Uiagalelei, he was our full-time starter because he is our only scholarship quarterback. And what ended up happening is that, he's more of a running back. It seems like he's definitely more of a runner. We have to work on him in the pocket, just trying to get things going. Just a lot of bad mistakes. 21 interceptions is not a good sign. He did have 11 touchdown passes. And then he also had another 4 on the ground. Plenty of rushing yards too. He might have led the team in rushing, and he actually did end up leading the team in rushing by a mile, so you definitely love to see that. Terrain Patton got some chances. He was 8 for 29, 105 yards and an interception. But also put majority of his time at the running back position, where he was a little underwhelming. 211 yards on the ground, and did have 3 touchdowns, which is cool to see. We'll have to see if Patton does decide to transfer at the end of the season. And then Aaron Ball, we'll see if he'll be able to play football again. He had 215 yards on the ground. Remember, he had a broken vertebrae that he suffered in the Defiance game, to start the second half. And it seemed like almost after that injury happened, it was just one of those things that we just could not get the wind back in our sails. And we definitely collapsed in that second half of the season for sure. For the receiving corps, Jakeem Short led the way, a true freshman from Portland, Texas. He ended up with 50 catches, 697 yards, and had a single touchdown. He did have some help on the outside. Adam Hill III was the second leading catcher. He had 35 catches for the guys, and then Jariah Bond had 28. Zane Volhelm had 20 catches as well. On top of it, led the team in touchdowns. He had 4 touchdown catches which led all Earlham receivers, regardless of position. Earlham also with 302 yards. Adam Hill III also was able to get multiple touchdowns. He had 371 total receiving yards, with Jariah Bond with 377 off of less catches. So these guys with about the same amount of production. Joakim Short's definitely a number 1. But who's going to be that number 2 that steps up? I mean, that's going to be an off-season thing. Henry B. York also ended up getting in the end zone as well. He had 12 catches for 172. And then Aaron Ball had a receiving touchdown off of 5 catches that went for 36 yards. For the offensive lines, probably our most improved unit on the offensive side of the ball, whereas Jacoby Black led the team in pancakes. He had 5 pancakes while allowing just 1 sack. King Nutt ended up with just 4 pancakes and 1 sack as well. Brian Smith also with multiple pancakes, but he had the most sacks allowed, which is disturbing. Cornell Smith with 2 pancakes, 3 sacks. Pierce of a pancake and multiple sacks. Nate Coleman with 1 pancake and multiple sacks. The only person that allowed some sacks but did not get a single pancake is Jane Downing. He allowed 2 sacks but did not get a single pancake over the course of the season. Now, for the defensive side of the ball, what I did notice is that our defense legitimately seemed like it was really put in some pretty difficult situations going forward. But that being said, though, like, this defense played pretty well, all things considered. We had 2 guys close to the top in Justin Burden and Seth Gray with 74 and 70 tackles respectively. So that's really good to see. Josh Brown was actually not too far behind. He ended up with 67 total tackles in his freshman campaign, with Caden Doman and RJ Greenway not too far behind. As for TFLs, Matthew Sands was in this backfield, and frankly, we had multiple guys that were in the backfield quite a bit. Matthew Sands, Izzy Ray, Seth Gray, and RJ Greenway all had double-digit TFLs this season. That's really cool to see. Justin Burden almost had multiple TFLs as well, or double digits. He ended up with 9. As for sacking the quarterback, we did do a better job overall of getting to the QB this season, but it's still something that, we still need to work on. Izzy Ray, yes, did have a solid freshman campaign, led the team with 5 sacks, but we don't have a true pass rusher still. Matthew Sands only ended up with 4. And then beyond that, only a few other guys ended up with multiple sacks. Granted, there were a few guys that got to the quarterback, once over the course of the season. But still, that being said, not being able to generate our pressure, it needs to be our MO, because we still have a really hard time going about, getting turnovers. We only had 4 turnovers the entire season. Granted, we should have had 1 with Caden Doman, but of course, that game didn't save. It was against the Hanover game, and that was for a touchdown too. But still, even with that, we did not do a good job this season of turning the football over. And that's something that we really need to be able to do, in order to win football games, because we're still one of the worst teams on paper. We also go ahead and check out the Heisman Trophy race, and we had a group of 5 guys in there. Ethan Perry actually had the opportunity to be in the Heisman Trophy race and finished 4th place overall, but Jesse Bryant's going to come home and bring the hardware. A scrambling quarterback from Berea, Ohio. He broke out for his senior campaign, 26 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and also had 14 touchdowns on the ground as well. And here's a guy, 89 speed too. That's tough, to deal with for sure. That being said, one of those guys that I think Miami Uiagalelei could be like. He just needs some time to develop. Try to mold him into that perfect prospect, for sure. Speaking of national championships, Iowa actually did win it all, and they played against Fresno State and took them to the woodshed. They actually ended up winning this game by a final score of 49-14. As for how the conference did overall, it actually did a really good job. We had 6 teams go to bowl season, and we ended up going 5-1 in the bowl campaign. So that's really good to see, at least for the strength of our conference. Manchester beat Boise State in the Idaho Potato Bowl, essentially a road game for the Spartans. So congratulations for them to take care of that. Franklin also beats Mid-Tennessee State in the Beef O'Brady Bowl down in St. Petersburg. Anderson beating UCF in the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl, and they actually finished ranked in the top 25. Mount St. Joseph went to the Military Bowl, played the Tar Heels of North Carolina, and won 42-35. Hanover actually got to go to the Rose Bowl, which probably means they won the conference championship, but I'll have to check and make sure. Hanover did lose though to Stanford by a field goal, and then Wittenberg, as a precursor to the national championship game, beats Uncle Sam's South Alabama squad. They won 49-13. I know he's pissed about that for sure. Speaking of the conference championship game, and actually Wittenberg ended up winning it all. They beat Hanover 35-13, but it's Hanover that got the group of 5 appearance. So that's really interesting for sure. Congratulations to Wittenberg for winning the MAC Conference Championship, representing that East Division. So now we'll go ahead and check out, at least like at the conference level, if we did have anybody, you know, make it onto the all-conference team here in our second season. And it does look like, at least for the first team, that we did not have anybody, you know, make that first team all-conference squad. You know, just checking the second team to see if we have anybody at all whatsoever, and we do have one. Josh Brown does end up garnering second team honors. You know, he finished with 63 tackles, 6 TFLs, had a couple of sacks, and also had a couple of pass deflections as well. Not bad for the freshman campaign, although I'm more interested to see, at least on the All-American team, if we had, you know, anybody on the, you know, the freshman, like All-American squad, you know, just to see, you know, how the freshmen are stacking up. We do have one, a tight end, who ended up making, you know, first team honors. So that's really cool to see, but surprisingly, the fact that we mostly started freshmen, I don't see any. Oh, hang on, Justin Burton makes the all-freshman, All-American team. He, so great work to him. Justin Burton had a phenomenal season. 69 tackles, nice. 9 TFLs, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. And then, if I'm not mistaken, he also had a kick return for a touchdown as well. So it did a little bit of everything. He has a very promising future here at Earlham, and I'm very happy to be able to build a defense around this guy for sure, because we're going to need him. 40 award winners outside of the Heisman Trophy. Mike Johnson does end up winning the Maxwell Award. He had a very nice season, 42 total touchdowns and only 8 interceptions as well. A 93 overall guy that will surely get a chance at the NFL, I'm sure. Jesse Bryant does win to Walter Camp, which is not too surprising. Usually, if a quarterback wins the Heisman, they usually win the Walter Camp or the Maxwell, so that makes sense. Warren Moss wins the Bednarik Award, given to, I believe, the best defensive player from Tennessee. You know, 44 tackles, 31 TFLs, and almost double-digit sacks. Also forcing 6 fumbles. This guy was, you know, an absolute force for the Tennessee Volunteers this season. And also win the Nagurski, so good for Lawrence Mosk. 40 O'Brien, Mike Johnson wins that award as well, his second award of the 2029 campaign. Fred Brown wins the Walker Award given to the best running back. He ended up with nearly 1,700 yards on the ground and 420 yards receiving, with 17 total touchdowns to account for. What a performance. Blindenkoff also goes to Logan Brown, who had almost 1,100 yards and 17 touchdown grabs. A walking scoreboard, if I say so myself. Then the Mackey goes to PJ Stewart from Utah. I love this logo in the revamp. It looks really nice. Outland Award Trophy going to the best offensive lineman. That goes to Joel Russell. 40 pancakes and only 6 sacks allowed. Remington going to Tom Lacey, the nation's best center. The Lombardi Trophy for best defensive lineman going to Tom Hayes of Alabama, a junior redshirt with 28 CFLs and 9 sacks to show for it. Best linebacker going to Lawrence Moss. He's just taking all the linebacking trophies. The Thorpe Award going to Matt Robinson, who had 7 interceptions. This dude was a ball hawk, and he went out and just, you know, had a breakout season. Really, it'll be interesting to see if he does end up, declaring for the NFL or not. We'll have to watch out for that. The best kicker does go to our own conference, Brandon Mixon, with a 93 overall. His stats looks like he was 24 for 28, 86% field goal percentage, made every single extra point, and then had 20 touchbacks on kickoffs this season. Guy Award going to the defending national champions, the Iowa Hawkeyes. David Simmons win the Guy Award. He only had the punt 44 times, but he had half of those punts down inside the 20, so great accuracy there. Antoine Mark does win best returner. The speed guy from Nebraska, he had 2 touchdowns returning, over 1,000 yards between the kick game and the punt return game. And that is all the awards here in Season 2. Hey, Terrain, I understand you wanted to, sit down with me for a little bit. Just was wondering what's going on with you, man. You doing all right? Yeah, Coach. I just wanted to drop by and let you know that I'm actually going to transfer out of the program. It's nothing against you, but I just want the opportunity to play quarterback here at the collegiate level, and I just don't think that it's going to happen here. Well, Terrain, it's nice to meet you while it lasted. Wish you the best of luck. Hopefully there's no hard feelings, okay? All right, Coach. I wish you the best of luck, man. My man, Aaron Ball. How you doing, my guy? How you holding up? I'm seeing that you're walking around. That's a real good sign. Yeah, I'm just really thankful that I'm able to go ahead and walk around, given what happened on the field. I do want to let you know, Coach, that I am going to go ahead and medically retire from the game of football. Just got to do what's best for me. I'm going to try to continue to get my education here, though. Listen, Aaron, I totally understand, given what happened to you, man. You are always welcome back. If you want the opportunity to coach here, I'll be more than happy, give you an opportunity to coach. You deserve that opportunity, and, I wish you the best of luck, man. So, while we, as the head coach, had ourselves an opportunity to stay for at least one more season, our coordinators were actually not so lucky. Since we finished in the bottom 6 for both our offense and our defense, both of these guys were actually fired. So Kurt Greet looks like he's going to be our offensive coordinator, and then Dusty Concepcion is going to be our new defensive coordinator. So we will have to go ahead, and we're going to have to change our playbook once again. I do this every time we get new coordinators. Whoever offensive coordinator's playbook is, that's what we run. Whatever defensive set our defensive guy wants to do, that's what we decide to run as well. As for the people graduating, we have 4 people graduating: AJ West, Chris Quinn, Triple J, and Miami Thomas, who have both, put a good amount of time in, all that good stuff. But we do have a transfer besides, Terrain Patton, and we also have Aaron Ball transferring out, or at least leaving the football team, due to medical reasons. Justin Chris is looking for playing time at ULM, and to be honest with you, he never played. He was redshirted his freshman year, and then here in Season 2, he never even stepped on the field, so I'm not even gonna bother trying to ask him to stay. We'll just let him leave, and he'll go play at Louisiana Monroe. So we'll definitely have to go ahead and look for that going forward, here as we get ready for Season 3. So another interesting piece for this offseason is that we didn't have anybody go to the professional draft, which, isn't, what we expected, but also nobody wanted to transfer into Earlham. I mean, this is a young squad, guys looking to, prove themselves. Figure we would still be a building ground, to bring some people in, but that just wasn't the case. We did not bring any new transfer guys in, so that'll be something that we'll have to deal with later on. So we do end up receiving a recruiting update as well, and we find out that Sam Banks is going to play for Washington State. Wanted to go with the more of the stay-at-home thing. I, don't blame him. That was one of the things that he was looking for, and we simply couldn't couldn't provide for that. So Sam Banks, he's gonna end up being a Washington Cougar going forward. But that being said as well, we do have 3 guys that we're going after. We have Ray Leonard, Jonathan Bray, and we also have Mark Gandy that we're gonna have to try to figure out how we want to play this out. So I am gonna go ahead and figure out the recruiting allocation real quick, and then I'll come back to you guys. Alright guys, so I think I've figured out how I wanted to go ahead and distribute my points, my 10,000 points. And most of them I'm putting between 2 guys, Mark Gandy and Ray Leonard. Now, even though we are in a 4-2-5 set, which is, not as much emphasis on linebackers, Ray Leonard is still a talented guy. And that being said, he's also, has abilities to impact right away. He will most likely see the field his freshman year unless we do decide to go ahead and redshirt him. And Mark Gandy, I put the most into him because we really need help on that offensive line. It seems like we kind of had troubles at times, and while we're bringing in solid guys like Ray Stevenson and Lionel Williams, Mark Gandy seems like a guy who can go ahead and at least be able to move the pot, or at least move things around forward for rushing attack as well, because that 85 impact blocking could help us. Jonathan Bray, I didn't put much stock in because there are a couple of other corners that we already brought in, so he can help us. He could be playing for us right away, but my thing is, at the end of the day, if we don't get him, it's not that big of a deal. So that being said, we'll go ahead and move over to signing day, and then we'll see what happens with that. We'll see if we can get the guys that we want. Okay, so it does end up looking like that out of the 3 guys that we're trying to go after, we only managed to get one of them. Mark Gandy is the only guy that ends up, jumping onto the squad, although it does look like we got a few preferred walk-ons. I don't know why the game does it. It decides to automatically, sign a handful of guys, so I'll have to look into that, to see, how that ended up happening. But Ray Leonard, we missed out on by 1,000 points. He does end up signing with the Anderson Ravens, so not only did we not get him, he goes to one of our conference opponents, so we're gonna have to deal with him with some time. And then Jonathan Bray as well, he does end up signing with the Army Academy. Felt like calling to join the U.S. Army while still playing professional or collegiate football. So shout out to him for joining the Army. Can't blame him for that. And then Mark Gandy, we win big on him. We pull away from UTEP and get a confirmed signing from that. He may only be a 2-star guy, but he can definitely help us right away. So this recruiting class that we did bring in was not as good as the last one that we brought in. This one is only 1/18, so not a good sign as we're trying to go ahead and build our football program. Looks like a couple of teams within our conference that had even worse recruiting classes than we did. Transylvania actually had the worst recruiting class in the country, and they finished 0-12, so that doesn't look good. Capital, we had a better recruiting class than those guys. Rose-Hulman, we did have a similar recruiting class then. So that's interesting. So I'll have to go ahead and take a look at who is the notable walk-ons that we managed to grab, because I don't recognize some of these guys to be honest with you. So I'll check that out and I'll let you know who's going to get a nerf, because they are going to be coming in as preferred walk-ons. But yeah, man, either way, this is actually the recruiting class that we aren't going to bring, that we are indeed going to end up bringing in. So I mean, it's not that big of a recruiting class, so hey, if you do want to have a custom prospect, in this freshman class, let me know down in the comments. I will have a template as a pinned comment that I need you guys to follow to make sure, that I don't adjust anybody's stats or anything like that. I just changed the name and put the YT at the end to make sure, that is indeed a custom recruit. So yeah, man, if you want a custom recruit, please let me know and leave that down in the comments for me. If I have a a heart by your comment, that means I did put your guy in, so make sure you look out for that if you do decide to have a custom. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and look into some changes that we do want to go ahead and make on our at least specifically on the team. But I'm going to start with the offensive line. we did bring in quite a few like offensive linemen overall, and I'm gonna start by moving Andy Richardson from left guard over to the right guard position, because right guard was looking real weak for us. You know, King Nut, you know, he was okay, but he did seem like he got like beat too many times, at least in the running game. That did lead to like a little too many losses for my comfort personally. So I moved Andy Richardson over to right guard, and then Ray Stevenson, who we actually brought in from California, he's gonna move to left guard. And you know, Andy Richardson should be our starter day one, even though he is a preferred walk-on, so he will end up taking a little bit of a hit because of that. At right guard as well, looks like Mark Gandy or Lionel Williams are out there. I'm going to move Lionel Williams from right tackle all the way over to left tackle, because he's too good not to be starting. And then MJ Clark, he's going to go ahead and move over to the right tackle position. And then, let's see, I think I want to go ahead and move Ben Roberts over to that right guard, because, you know, want to have like at least like free deep everywhere. And Ben Roberts doesn't seem like a guy that would be that big of a deal anyways. So the offensive line's really coming together. We're getting really close to a point where we can go ahead and start. We might actually am able to go ahead and redshirt somebody if we really wanted to go down that path. We'll just have to like wait and see how the cookie crumbles. As for the defensive side of the ball, I'm looking around, and you know, there's quite a bit going on. Brad Gardner and Maurice Rice both look like we'll be starting, even though they'll both will probably, you know, they're going to take a hit even as preferred walk-ons, because we didn't bring either of these guys in whatsoever going forward. Sam Harper, they brought him in, but I don't know how much emphasis there's going to be on, you know, linebackers. So be interesting to see how that's going to be utilized. See if there's anything else that I want to go ahead and move. And I don't think I do really. George Day, I did not bring him in. He's going to be a preferred walk-on for sure. Yeah, I think the only changes are going to be are primarily on the offensive line, just to make sure that we have our offense as good as possible going into season 3. So we do end up getting to my favorite part of the offseason, seeing the training results. And Jacob Ramos, still by far the best player on this squad. He's an 88 overall, and he's only going to be a sophomore as well. He was perfect last season. You know, made all of his field goals, made all of his extra points, you know, all of that good stuff. Has 88 kick power and 89 accuracy, so he can boot it even farther. So expect a lot more touchbacks going into season 3, which is really nice to see. As for the quarterback position, things are going to be really interesting, because Miami Uiagalelei, he moved himself up to a 67 overall, which is going to be the same as Joe Stevenson. Now, his throwing stuff still isn't great. He has 69 accuracy and 74 throw power. So he didn't put too much, you know, stock into that, which I really wish he would, but he did put 4 more into awareness, and then his speed is now up to an 81 going forward. Still not a great quarterback, but does put him in a position to maybe compete for this job. You know, maybe keep him as the starting quarterback, then maybe we go ahead and redshirt Joe Stevenson. But we do have to keep in mind Terrain Patton. We're actually going to remove him because of, you know, what we saw from the cutscene. CJ Holtman is also going to win the starting running back job. He wins over Jesse Green. Both of which have similar speed, but it looks like what really puts them CJ Holtman apart is that, you know, he just does like the little things a little bit more, and at the end of the day, you know, that little difference, and he does accelerate a little bit better as well. So for the first time in this series, we'll actually have a real running back, so I'm really excited for that, being able to utilize CJ Holtman. Maybe we can move Jesse Green as our return guy. He does have 90 speed, and he could do that kind of stuff for us. At wide receiver, Joakim Short, he's now over that 70 overall threshold with Adam Hill III and Jariah Bond not too far behind, which is really nice to see. See, left tackle, Cornell Smith is a 59. Not a lot of great work for the returning offensive lineman, which is why we did put in as much effort as we did. Jacoby Black and Brian Smith, they're both over 60 overall. Brian Smith, +7, you love to see that. King Nuts a +5, Jay Downing's a +4. Defensive side of the ball, not too encouraging stuff. Matthew Sands is over 70 overall. He's now up to a 72 going into his junior redshirt season. But defensive tackle, still not looking pretty. RJ Greenway, he's a 71 going into his sophomore campaign. He had a really good freshman year, by the way. Let's see if he can build on that. Middle linebackers, Josh Brown, he's a 68. Nate Hunt is a 77. So that redshirt really helped him. He'll be flying all over this field as well. I'm excited for it. Seth Gray is also a 70 overall, so he can be a rotational piece if he really wanted to. On top of that, gonna be one scary guy for sure. At corner, Giante McLaurin, he's a 67. He was our best corner during the course of season 2, and he'll get some help because, you know, some of the guys behind him last season did not step up whatsoever. Cameron Frost, he's now a 72 overall, and you know he's got a job to do. Has a return for a touchdown with the punt game, and then Justin Burns also a 72 overall as well. Teams looking better across the board. I think we might be able to compete for a bowl game potentially in season 3, given the kind of progress that we've shown. Run game should be a lot better, so I'm really excited for that. So this is the toughest part that we have to do, and it's cuts. And one of the things I have to do, Terrain Patton did, like I said from the cutscene from this episode, he did end up deciding to go ahead and transfer, and then Aaron Ball actually decided to medically retire as well. So that leaves us still with 9 guys that we still need to cut. We brought in a lot of freshmen over the past couple of seasons, and it's getting to a point where we have to start going ahead and cutting some of these original walk-ons that are on the squad. Unfortunately, just a lot of guys that just can't cut it, don't make our standards. And so just a lot of guys that we gotta cut, unfortunately, as Jesse Landry is gonna get. And then the last guy that's gonna be cut is between George Day and Daniel McDarris. And I'm actually going to end up cutting George Day. He was an original walk-on anyway, so I was going to lower his stats. That's ultimately going to be the tiebreaker. And that's going to be our final, 70-man roster going into Season 3. So I'm excited for it. This looks like what our starting lineup is going to be going into our, our third season. I like what I'm seeing overall. The development has been really good for the most part. Things that we sure we need to work on moving forward. But that being said, we still got a lot of good talent on this team, man, and I can't wait to see it live up to those expectations and show out going forward, as we're really starting to get some depth on this squad. Our scholarship players are coming in, they're replacing the walk-ons, and now we get to a point where we can start competing. We have the depth to compete with some of these better teams in the conference. Maybe we can make some noise potentially, who knows? So one more thing that I needed to do that I actually haven't had a chance to do yet is, go ahead and do some changes to, the various conferences, because we do end up having, a couple of teams, that, were changed because of the revamp that we got. So we got revamp on the Xbox shortly after we advanced to like the preseason last, going into year 2. So we got to make sure that's all said and done. And it looks like Coastal Carolina and Appalachian State, their names haven't changed because this is on my hard drive, and the actual team names, they're on the USB that gives me the, the college football revamp. So just going through the, each of these conferences real quick, just to make sure everything's looking good and squared away. And actually, one thing that we do need to do, we need to move this team over to the Sun Belt. This is actually Georgia Southern, so we actually need to go ahead and add a team to Conference USA real quick, since they're looking real thin right now. And we're gonna go ahead and add BYU It's not the best fit, but it will have to do for right now, as Notre Dame is now the only independent left that we have here in this entire dynasty. So, all right, so we got that squared away, finally, and now we go ahead and move towards the preseason so that we can go ahead and start talking about some red shirts as well as our schedule for year 3. Alright, so we'll go ahead now and check out some of the guys that are going to be redshirted over the course of the season. First guy is going to be Cameron Frost. He wears 23, and with CJ Holman and Jesse Gray, sitting like in front of him now, we're gonna go ahead and redshirt this guy just to make sure he gets an extra year of eligibility and develop going forward. Also going to be redshirted is Nate Coleman, as we now have Ray Stevenson taking over. And again, usually I redshirt just freshmen, but this guy, he's too good to not see the field. He's gonna be our starter day 1 for us, as we have actually several freshmen. It looks like we have 3, maybe 4 freshmen on this offensive line, but we're not going to redshirt any of them. Over on the defensive side of the ball, we actually are redshirting multiple defensive ends. Marcus Johnson, he's at left end, is going to be redshirted, as he's going to sit behind Mike Wood, who is going to end up and get the start. Whereas Jason Bell, he's sitting at that 3rd string position as of right now, and he is also going to be redshirted as well. At middle linebacker, since we still have Josh Brown on the squad, and he's a tad better than Sam Harper. Sam Harper's going to redshirt because we don't need him to start right away. Anthony and Luke Hall had some nice development with their redshirt bonuses and training results, so they can step in and be a stopgap until Sam Harper is ready to go for year 4. And then surprisingly, Seth Gray is also going to be redshirt. Nate Hunt was just a breakout guy. He got significantly better over the course of his past year and a half. So Seth Gray is gonna now be redshirted so that he can get that same bonus as well, and he can be a really great linebacker as well moving forward. In addition, this is also going to be our schedule. Now, I've seen the Discord that they want to see games, Indiana, Notre Dame, and Purdue, and we're gonna play 2 of those Indiana squads. Week 1, we are not wasting any time whatsoever. We're going to take on number 10 Notre Dame on the road, and then also going to host the Indiana Hoosiers. On top of that, we will have an additional road game against UL Monroe, as we play against a team that we actually lost somebody to due to the transfer portal, so that's something that we'll have to deal with as well. Now, for the conference schedule, it's essentially the same thing. We have the same kind of conference schedule. We play against Transylvania once again, although this time Transylvania will be led by Terrain Patton, as I just received word. That's where he's going to end up going to school at. And then, rest of the conference schedule, Bluffton, Manchester, Rose. I know Hanover and Anderson will be tough, but nobody is ranked this season, at least teams that we're playing up against. So maybe this is an indicator that we can go ahead and, maybe make a difference, and that Notre Dame's going to really be impactful. So we get into the start of season 3, and it actually shows that while we sit at the bottom of the conference, we look a lot better, looks like. 57 overall offense, 66 defense with a 61 overall rated squad. So I love to see that. We're doing better than Transylvania, who's only a 59 overall rated team. We're set to make another jump, and I wouldn't be shocked if we made it to a bowl game here in season 3. But at the same time though, first game that we got to work with, our first game against Notre Dame. We have to bring our A game in order to win this game. Should be a good one to start season 3. So hey, if you're ready for it, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you're all having a good one. Take care, everybody.